Hi guys, it's your girl Shauna. Welcome to another episode of Ree's Ramblings. And today I have a guest with me. I've started doing this thing where I am inviting my friends or people that I am familiar with who I think are doing a phenomenal job at life, despite it being so rough and so hard sometimes. And today I have with me Miss Rina Waligo. She is from Uganda. I met her in China and she has returned home. So today we're just going to talk a bit about what her life was like in China, why she decided to move back home, and how has the adjustment process been for her in Uganda. Rina has lived abroad for, I think, over 10 years, right, Rina?
Yeah, 10 years.
Yeah, she started in Kenya and then she moved to China. So this is her first time being back in Uganda as an adult. Rina, can you tell us something about yourself, a little about yourself?
Okay. Hi, Shauna. Hi, Shauna's people. Thanks for having me on the podcast. So my name is Rina Waligo. I'm from Uganda. I'm a visual designer and I run two companies related to design. The first one is Mpenzi Paper Studio, which is a creative studio that deals in designing wedding stationery. And the second is IBUNO Design, which is a community platform that shares content around business and design to help you realize, build, and nurture your creative abilities and talents for purpose. So that's basically what I'm doing. And just like you said, I moved back home end of 2021. So I used to visit before, once in a while, but for the last like 10 years, I've pretty much been living in China and in Kenya as well. So it's my first time to really be back home and like do this adulting thing. So yeah, it's exciting. It's a new experience, and yeah, I'm just so grateful for
Of
everything.
course, of course.
Yeah.
And speaking of gratitude, I think that has been one of the things that I admire most about you. I can still remember like when we met, like at dance class, so guys, most of you or some of you would know that I do a little bit of Latin dancing. You know, I got some rhythm in me, um,
Mm-hmm.
some broco. But so my friend and I, my other friend and I, we would always go to Latin dancing and she wasn't present that day. And I was just like sitting by myself and this person just came over to me and started talking. I was like, okay, who is this girl? What is happening? But she was black. So of course, like I had to smile and I wanted to be friendly because, you know, like when you meet another black person, another black girl, then you have to be a sweetheart. And she was, well, Rina, you have been an incredible friend. Like, I'm so happy that you walked over to me that night. I am also happy that my friend wasn't with me that night because who knows like how it would have been like if I would have been,
Yeah.
you know, like in a corner with her talking and stuff like that. But I think one of the encounters, so since we met, like we would meet up at dance class and talk a bit. But I remember when we went to brunch a couple months after that, that brunch literally changed my life. And
Mm-hmm.
those of you who are listening and you've purchased my book, or if you haven't, you can go check it out on Amazon. Rina is the person who designed and, well, she did everything for my book, to be honest. Like I just wrote it because she was telling me like, okay, you need this, you need that, you need that. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. Like I knew nothing, but you were the expert and you shared everything like for free with me. Like you were just
Yeah.
like giving game, like looking out for me. And I appreciated that so much. I appreciate it so much. But
Yeah.
before we even get to the book, I remember while we were talking at the brunch, like we were telling like at that time I was talking about my then boyfriend, and we were talking about relationships and about being a woman of God, and like our faith and stuff like that. And it was such a
Mm-hmm.
wholesome day. But one of the things I noticed about you was just your conviction and how passionate you were, or passionate you are, about what you do and about serving God.
Yeah.
And and I know it wasn't an easy road, because you've told me a
Mm-hmm.
bit about your past, but can you share with us, like, how did you get to that place of faith? And I think it had something to
Mm-hmm.
do with studying abroad in Kenya, because like the Rina in China versus the Rina in Kenya, like you know how it is
Sis.
sometimes, like us
Mm-hmm.
church girls, us church people, we know how it is, like, but thank God for grace. So can you tell us
Yeah.
about that?
Okay. Wow. I'm first of all so humbled that you think that way of me. And so I just want to honor God in that. And yeah, so I think how my conviction or my whole faith thing, it was one of those things where, you grow up in a Christian home, you do what you're supposed to do. It's like Monday to Saturday is a whole other thing, and Sunday, you're on fire. So I think that was pretty much my life for the longest time. And so, of course, I knew like the Bible, I knew scriptures, I knew all these different things, but I wouldn't say that I was actively, I don't know, it just seemed like something that you do. I knew about God, I believed in Jesus and all these different things, but my life wasn't really reflecting that.
Mhm.
And also I think when I moved to Kenya, it was more of YOLO, you just kind of live your life. You're in a new place, new country, new experiences. But I always had the love for God, like always, that I don't think has ever really changed. And
Mhm.
I felt like there was this calling that He had on my life, to be more and do more. So I knew since I was about 6 that I wanted to design.
Mhm.
But being from like a standard African home at the time, creativity wasn't really a chosen career. So I just felt this disconnect with the person I felt I was inside, that God has called me to be, and the person I was seeing outside. So
Yeah.
I think when I moved to China is when you're kind of older, more mature, and is when I really started to get more in touch with my faith and actively serve. Before, church was just you go on Sunday and you leave,
Mhm.
and then I learned that you can actually really be a part of what God is doing in the world. And I think in those because I moved there about 2016,
Mhm.
so it was around 2017 when God really started to show me that He has called me to be exactly who I am. I used to have this struggle when I felt like only pastors or only people up there could serve God. But I
Mhm.
think in the last 5 years, He started to teach me that even if you're working in security, even if you're in, I
Mhm.
don't know, transportation, like anybody can serve Him. And I think that's when my life really began to change. And instead of trying to be this other person I thought I needed to be, I just allowed God to work through me. And that's why even when I met you, the easiest way for me to help you was through design,
Yeah.
because that's what
Yeah.
I knew how to do.
Yeah.
So I think my whole journey of salvation has just been God teaching me that He created me this way for a reason, and
Mhm.
teaching me how I can serve Him and serve others with the gifts and talents He's given to me. Yeah,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
yeah.
You mentioned about growing up in the traditional African home and
Mm-hmm.
the career path, I guess, like, the cookie cutter life that we're all supposed to have.
Mm, mm-hmm.
Go to university, get the degree, and get a husband, have babies, be a
Yeah.
doctor, lawyer, that
Yeah.
thing. And so you mentioned like having to, I guess, like the Rina that I want to be, that I know I am, versus the Rina that is expected of me. How
Mm-hmm.
did you deal with that expectation? I know you're now on the other side where you know who you are, but tell us about
Yeah.
the middle part, if you can.
Gosh, I think I just left. I think that's how I dealt with it, honestly. Like, I think I just left the country. It's so drastic, but yeah, I think it was just like you said, the cookie, because my brother is an engineer. Like I feel like he
Mhm.
came out of the womb in like engineering. And I think I was always that kid who, like today I wanted to be a ballet, dancer because I watched Dexter's Lab and there was a cool episode. Or I wanted to be a chemist because of
Mhm.
Pinky and the Brain, only to get to high school and chemistry was not for me. So I was always kind of moving from this and that. But I remember when I discovered design, actually it was interior design at the time,
Mhm.
something about it just stuck. And so it was a struggle for me to like relate to my family. They're not the most traditional people, but they are quite traditional. And so it was just one of those things where I was trying to be pushed into, I don't know, engineering or doctor, or like those standardized kind of, professions. And
Mhm.
so in terms of dealing with it, I wouldn't say I dealt with it very well. I think I had a lot of pain and hurt and resentment because I just felt like I wasn't accepted. I knew I was loved, but I
Yeah.
felt like I wasn't accepted. And so I think when I got the opportunity in 2012 to leave, to go to Kenya, I think what propelled me is just being away from home, being away from the scrutiny.
Yeah.
I always did things like, I went to my classes and everything, but on the side, I would always like seek out design and designers. And I think around 2015 is when I met designers and started on that path. So I think that's how I dealt with it, just out of sight, out of mind. But now growing up, I'm learning to have those conversations about,
Yes.
yeah, about who I really am. And
Mhm.
just, I've started designing for my family as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
So people, now that I'm home, like it's like people are really getting to see what
Mhm.
it is I've been doing versus the last 10 years. It was kind of, okay, she's in school and she's kind of doing something related to design, or she likes cushions, or she's doing this. Like it's always been that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I don't know. You kind of just have to, it starts with yourself.
Of
You
course.
can't have the validation from everybody else. It
Preach.
has to come from you.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
has come from you. So that's the biggest lesson that
Mhm.
I've been learning in the last 10 years. Like I can see the vision, and
Mhm.
unfortunately, maybe no one can see it, but I know that it's between me and God. And soon enough, with
Yes.
patience, He will
Yes.
bring others to see it
Yes.
eventually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I really like how you've phrased that. And um, I guess I don't even want to simplify what you have said, but sometimes I watch stuff or I've read stories about millionaires or people who
Mm-hmm.
just make money or like a stupid, oh, maybe I shouldn't say stupid, but like, they create like something and you're like, like that's what's
Mm-hmm.
making you money? Like, is that all you
Yeah.
did? Like, but they believe in themselves and it's something to
Mm-hmm.
be admired. And then once you get that, once you have that validation, you don't need it from anyone else. And I mean, of
Yeah.
course, you want it from your family. You want to be valued for who you are, what you are doing, and you want to share that with them. But there are times when you just have to venture out on your own and trust that eventually they will follow, they'll catch up, they'll understand. But if they don't, you know that you are doing what you've been called to do. And I think that's what you
Exactly.
when you left. So do you think that well, has your family accepted you now, like in terms of, okay, I have my bachelor's, I have my master's, but this is what I'm doing, and that's the only thing I'm doing. It's not a hobby. So do you think that their perception or their impression of you has changed?
That's very interesting that you said the word hobby, because I think I reached a point when I was like, if one more person tells me this is just a hobby, like, but I think they are starting to. So I think what I've noticed in a lot of home settings, like being back home, because Uganda's creative industry has changed a lot. That's actually one of the reasons I decided to move back when I did. And I've realized that sometimes when you become successful, and I say that in quotes because of the money success,
Mm-hmm.
everyone suddenly accepts you. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's like it's different when you're struggling and you're not earning and this is just a dream. And then suddenly you're like featured in a paper and now you're successful and everyone is like, oh, I always knew you could do it. You know, so I feel like for now, um it depends. Some people are very accepting, like they're over it, but I think for some of them it's more of they wanted me to have the backup of education. I mean, education shouldn't be a backup, but I think it was one of those things of get your masters and then after that you can do whatever you need to do, you know, because they feel like at least you've kind of set yourself up to have a fallback position or whatever. So I
Mm-hmm.
think also because I'm done with the school aspect, there's a bit more acceptance that you can kind of go and, I don't know, experiment with whatever you're doing. While I do think right now I'm at a point where when I was younger, I wanted acceptance so badly. So I was the type of person who would do something else just to please everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm at that point where, listen, I don't care if you accept or not, but this is what I'm doing. So I
Mm-hmm.
think for some of them, they've come to realize that, okay, she's serious about it. Like she's not playing games.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just have to support her as much as we can, show her that we'll be there for her. We may not fully understand, but we're there for her and we hope it works out. And
Mm-hmm.
if it doesn't, hey, you know, you have a backup. So I don't know if I would say accepting yet, but I do think that it's definitely better than it was maybe like 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I know they still love me. They're the most amazing people. So I just hope that I can show them that there's a different way of doing things, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I totally understand it from the perspective of your family and also just the business landscape of it all. But organizations and companies are changing now, like even before the
Mm,
pandemic, but more so now. Like so many people are working remote, jobs have started
yeah.
differently. Creativity is needed now more than ever.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
like you're coming up like so
Hey.
so I think like over time with the social media era that we're now in, people like, because I remember the first time like we went to the 1905, like the creative place, and you went into
Ah,
the
yeah, yeah,
station,
yeah.
you went into the stationery store and you
Oh my gosh.
went crazy. And I was just standing
Yeah.
there like, am I ignorant?
It's just
Like,
paper.
just paper. Like, but
But
you
it
like
ain't.
the joy on your face and you knew everything like there was to know about paper. And I was just like, well, I just know it's either blank paper or lined paper. But through meeting you, like I now have an appreciation for that. And I think the world is changing and well, it has changed and it continues to change, where people are developing a deeper appreciation for the arts and for
Yeah.
the different elements of it, and not just like, oh, I want a graphic designer, but your field
Mm-hmm.
is so important, it's so vital to
Yeah.
us. And
Yeah.
yeah, so hats off to you for doing the thing, like yeah.
Oh, thank you.
So, so you mentioned Kenya, bachelor's degree, in China,
Mhm.
the master's degree. What
Yeah.
made you decide to stay in China and not just return home after completing your studies?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So I remember about, I think 2019 was when I graduated, but I think I had finished before that. Ooh, uh, wait, can you hear me still?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, because in the program I was in, you had a year to write your thesis
Mm-hmm.
for graduation. So I was basically free in quotes for a year writing my thesis. And during that time is when I got more time to explore what was going on, you know, in the country. I mean, China is pretty much like the manufacturing, you know, hub.
Yeah.
So I remember getting an opportunity to meet someone who was working in like manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I had the conversation with him, I actually didn't even go to apply for a job. I just went to kind of get career advice, because he liked advising young people on how to do business and the next steps in life and that type of thing. And he's American, so he's a bit more flexible.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember having that conversation with him, and his company was looking for someone with my skill set. And he wasn't the type of person who he needed, I don't know, 10 years experience in
Yeah.
this and that. He just needed to a self-starter and committed.
Shout out to
So
those
he told
people.
me to think about it. Yeah. So he told me to think about it. And so, yeah, I kind of started thinking about it. And the options at the time were to move back home and like, again, go back to how I was all those years ago, right? In the job that I didn't really want to be in the profession, like no shade to any, like, but I think it just wasn't for me. And so I was like, again, going back to the out of sight, out of mind. I was like, me moving back home now and trying to figure this out versus staying and actually being hired
Yeah.
as a designer for a company. Like that was an easy trade-off. I was like, I'm going to stay, get my experience. It's in the manufacturing central. I have to operate in another language. Like there's so many things that I'm going to learn that might be different from home. So really it was just the opportunity. I couldn't pass it up. And I was like, okay, so I'm just going to stay and see how this thing goes. I did give myself a timeline though, because I felt like sometimes you can kind of go and then you wake up and 10 more years have passed. So I did give myself 3 years to reevaluate. I was like, okay, after 3 years at this company, I'll reevaluate what I want to do next.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how I decided to stay.
I think I remember when I met you, and I I automatically assumed that you were a teacher because that's what a lot of people are doing here. And when you said, "Oh no, I'm a designer," I found that so fascinating and interesting. Like, oh wow, like you're in China designing and you're getting paid. Like that's such a good job. And like I like that because of my marketing background as well. But like you mentioning your boss, and I've met him. He's such a like a good person. Maybe that's even like too simple of a
Yeah.
word to use, but that's what it comes down to. And I think for us as young people, we need more people like that who will take a chance on us, who won't say, okay, well, you need, as you said, 10 years experience, but like, no, can you do it? Okay, show me what you can do it, and we give you the opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think you got that, and it's been life changing. Like, I'm happy he gave you that opportunity, because otherwise we would not have met. And that's how the butterfly
Yeah,
effect
probably.
works, and that's how lives are changed. So
Yeah.
yeah, and it's another part which we know only from God is that your boss was also a man of the faith, right?
Yes.
So
Yes, he
how
is.
how do you think that affected your work environment and who you are as a Christian?
Ah, wow, that's a really good question. Yeah, I think there was this sense of he gives a sense of family,
Mhm,
and belonging. I
mhm,
think at the company, it wasn't so much about, your background and where you're coming from and this and this. It was people relating to each other in love. And I think that's really what the Bible commands us to do, just love one another.
mhm,
Um, so for me, it was easy, I think because there's a way I had actually connected with his wife before, and just being in that community of
mhm,
believers,
mhm.
there's a sense of, I don't know, love and togetherness and oneness. And living in a foreign country, like you find family where you find it, if that makes sense. And so already yeah, so already even going in,
Mhm,
um there was that sense of family and community and oneness. And he also had this thing to see you succeed. He really wanted young people to succeed. So I was never put in I was always put in a place where I could have an opinion about things, I could try things, I could
yeah,
experiment with things.
mhm,
And that really helped me grow as well. And he also, I think in my second year of working there, he became my business mentor as well. I just asked him to be my business mentor as well. So
Yeah.
it just having that type of someone who's running business ethically, who's like running business with the principles of the word,
Mm-hmm.
like it just changed everything. Because you can work at certain companies and just feel like
Yep.
you're suffocated each and every day, you know.
Emotional
But
labor.
just living in a place, yeah, and like just being in a place where you know that you have someone that you can count on, someone who believes what you believe, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think it really helped me as a person. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, understood. I completely get it. And I think that is the dream for all of us, to have a boss or a leader who we are
Mm,
committed to, and we want to show up to work. We want to do
yeah.
the job because, we have a responsibility. We know that we have their trust and we want to perform well. Um, like you mentioned that he was your business mentor, and I think it's always like on Instagram or social media where it's like, okay, don't slave away at your 9 to 5 and then go home and sleep instead of
Mm,
working on your own business. But based on what you've said,
yeah.
because if your boss gave you an avenue to work on yourself and your own thing even at work, right?
Yeah, yeah, he did. He did. Man, like honestly, that guy is just a blessing. Like he's really, really, he's called Ryan.
Mhm,
Um, but yeah, so I think about 2019, I approached him, and I think he even asked me when he was, I didn't even realize it was an interview, but that first conversation we had.
mhm,
And I always told him that I feel like there are things God has called me to do. And I hope that one day I'll be able to do them. And
mhm.
I remember in 2019, I approached him and I was like, hey, I have a business idea. Because I was not going to be shady about things, you
Yeah,
know? And
yeah.
so I was like, I'm just going to go tell my boss straight up that, hey, I have this business idea. Is there any way that,
Mhm,
I can get support, to
mhm.
do this? And a lot of bosses that you can approach with your side hustle and they support you. But he actually did. Of course, we had some terms like I could only use, company time for, I don't know, emergencies or whatever, or some things are actually outsourced.
Yeah.
But I knew that he gave me that opportunity and openness, and, he supported me and everything. So yeah, it was just really, really a blessing. I got to learn a lot from his company and
Mhm,
use those tools in my company. I brought him clients as well. Sometimes if I
mhm,
had a client that it was beyond me to
mhm,
handle, I did bring
mhm.
clients there as well. So that was like a win-win for the both of us.
Yeah.
I was able to learn and grow, and yeah, I'm so appreciative of that.
Okay. Yeah. I shout out to Ryan and his company for grooming Rina.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you had like a pretty sweet deal in China. So why did you give that up? Like,
Girl.
you know.
This thing called following God, eh?
Mm-hmm,
It
mm-hmm,
can lead you to interesting places. But I think for me, I don't look at it so much as giving up. I think, like I said, going in 2019, because when he offered me the job, ironically, I didn't accept it right away. I
mm-hmm.
told him that, let me think about it, don't call us, we'll call you type of thing. But
Uh-huh.
anyway, no, but I did want to like run it by God, like, hey, do you want me to take this opportunity? What's the best way? Blah, blah, blah. So I think for me, it wasn't giving up, but I think sometimes God puts us in places where we need to grow to the next step. And
Mm-hmm,
sometimes because we want to stay in the comfort zone, we're so comfortable here, we're earning or we're whatever, the life is
mm-hmm,
convenient.
mm-hmm,
It's easy to
mm-hmm.
stay beyond the time you're supposed to be there. And I think for me, I didn't want that to happen because, like I said, my entire life, I
Yeah,
had this conviction in me that there is something I am meant to do.
yeah.
And I don't look at it as delay, but I look at it like God put me in situations that I was supposed to learn from and grow from.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, I need to move forward, and not just move forward, but help those people who are around me as well to move forward. So for me, it was mostly like I can't preach virtue and practice vices, So it's
Uh-huh.
like you can't tell someone to follow their dreams and you're not following your dreams.
I
So I
feel like
think
that's
after
a
some time,
quotable. Sorry.
Rina Waligo
Oh,
2022. You heard it here
woo!
first.
Yes,
Anyway,
yeah,
no.
preach virtue and
Um,
practice vices. Wow, that's like for my
yeah, someone has said that before. Yeah, someone said that like back in 2018, I think in a sermon.
ah.
Anyway, but yeah, so it was more for I realized that okay, God has put me here to learn to do A, B, C, and D.
Mm,
But once he's accomplished that, I have to step out and now also do those things. So I don't see it as giving up. I see it as it was like a stepping stone to the next season. And I had to, no matter how afraid I was or whatever, I
yeah,
had to step out in faith and
yeah.
just trust that, I'm going in the right direction and God will give me the grace to handle whatever I handle.
Mhm.
Plus, I missed home. I
Yeah,
missed my country. I felt
yeah.
like I there was just so much that I knew that we can be and grow. And I was like, I've gone out abroad and I've learned all these things, and it's time for me to actually implement them, you know, in the next season. So that's how I look at it. Of course, I miss it 100%, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the right time, and yeah, it needed to be done really.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Mhm.
mm-hmm. Bring it back home. It's interesting what you said about comfort zone because I think sometimes living in China, it feels almost like a permanent vacation. I mean, it's not easy here. It's not.
Hey, you're on vacation.
It's
Okay.
maybe
you
you know what I mean.
I
Like
know what you
as
mean though.
expats here,
Mhm.
it can feel like we're not in the real world.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
yeah,
So you can get comfortable, you can get complacent because you're like, okay, I'm here, like I have a job and I'm getting paid. It's cheap to live here, like let me stay. But as you said, it's all about following God and pursuing your passion and moving, walking into the next for his glory, like even if you don't understand it.
yeah,
Remember, even before you moved home, like right before you moved home, like stuff started happening back home and you started having questions
yeah.
like what's going on at this
Oh,
point. And you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to,
mhm,
but
mhm.
I feel like so many times when we're at the precipice of something new and we've decided to take the leap, then we see something like right below it and we're like, okay, no, I'm not going down there again, let me turn back. but
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you didn't, and you had the opportunity
yeah,
but you didn't, like you still, you took the leap, you made the jump. And how has that been for you being back home, setting up your business? I know you mentioned it earlier, but um, can you
mhm.
tell us just a little bit more about how that whole entrepreneurship process has been going for you?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So firstly I will say I didn't like decide on a whim to move back home. I think I was thinking about it the entire 2021.
Mm-hmm,
Actually, because I knew already from 2019 that after 3 years, I need to assess, just like I had mentioned.
mm-hmm,
So I think beginning of 2021 is when I really started to assess, should I move to another city, another country, or move back home? And along the way, like I got the answer, move back home. That was about February 2021, but I didn't actually move till December. So I
mm-hmm,
had some months to prepare, mentally, physically, financially, so many things.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, so that definitely helped me with, because I don't do the last minute. So I needed months and months of like planning.
mm-hmm.
Um, and the transition so far, it's been a learning curve for sure. Like stuff runs at a different pace here.
Mm-hmm.
I obviously have to build networks like almost from scratch because I haven't actively lived here. Like I've been on a vacation mindset every time I'm in Uganda for the
Uh-huh.
last 10 years. And now it's kind of like I have to actually be involved and see where offices are and what the process is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so far it's been okay. I have my companies are being registered at the moment. So that should be done soon. I've been doing a lot of admin,
Mm-hmm.
getting things set up. Luckily, the planning that I did before also did help.
Mm-hmm.
So just building networks as well, trying to get my websites up. Like it's a lot of admin stuff, get
Mm-hmm.
clients. But it's been good. I think one thing I would say is it's different from trying to do this as a side business where you have like, I don't know, an hour or two versus I have the whole day, and I think I'm so guilt free. Like, I have the whole day to think about my business. I have the
Mhm.
whole day to, like, it's
Yeah.
about my business, and I
Yeah.
think that has been a game changer because for the past 5 years, it was always, okay, when I have time, when
Yeah.
I have 2 seconds
Uh-huh.
to spare
Uh-huh.
in the middle of,
Mhm.
yeah. So that has been definitely great for me.
Mhm.
Um, there's still a lot of learning involved for sure. I'm not used to the markets,
Mhm.
business is
Mhm.
done very, very differently. But I believe all those things will kind of be sorted out. I just have to be humble enough to learn from those who have come before me. And also, I'm learning my quote for this month, and I think for the rest of my life is done is better than perfect. I'm such
Okay.
a perfectionist. But in that, I can somehow talk myself out of things and delay a million
Mhm.
things. But now I'm just learning, just show up every single day, no
Yeah.
matter how big or small it is.
Mhm. Mhm.
And just do things. Like, experience is the best teacher.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'm learning to take risks,
Yeah.
calculated risks, because I'm very risk averse, but I'm learning to take calculated risks.
Mhm.
And just enjoy the process. I'm learning to also just, just have fun with it. Like,
Yeah.
designers and creatives, you can't take yourself too seriously. So I'm also learning to have fun with it. And yeah, I don't know, I'm only like 2 months in,
Yeah.
like, so I don't know, maybe ask me again like after a year. Yeah, but so far it's my second month and I'm feeling great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm really, really
Yeah.
happy for you. So we are wrapping up now. So do you have any, I mean, I feel like you just gave your final word because you gave us like so many little nuggets,
Oh,
like
I have a
this
final
method.
word.
Okay, okay.
Actually, my
Okay.
final word is about you.
Oh,
I feel like to your
wait.
listeners. Uh-huh.
Okay, so while we're wrapping up, so any final word just about anything to the listeners, any advice
Yeah.
about moving back home, or just any little nuggets that you want to drop to those listening.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would say be patient with yourself
Mm,
and give yourself grace,
yeah, yeah,
really be patient with yourself, because I had this whole plan of how things were going to go and like,
yeah.
but yeah, be patient with yourself, give yourself grace,
Mm-hmm.
um, allow yourself the freedom to learn. It's so weird that sometimes we feel all this pressure because we feel like we need to be perfect.
Yes.
We need to have figured everything out, but we're all just figuring things out,
Mm-hmm.
really. And so, just keep trying. Always evaluate where you're at. If you see something isn't working,
Mm-hmm.
reevaluate and change. Like, it's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I would say just appreciate people when they're in your life. I think there are a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
that you don't really know when you've met them, like how they're going to play a part in your
Yeah,
life. But I
yeah.
think just be kind, be kind to the person who's cleaning your office,
Yes.
as well as the CEO. Like, just treat people as people and learn to see them for who they are. Be
Mm-hmm.
present in the moments. Enjoy like the moments. Just see what's there to be grateful for, and just trust God and keep, your plans committed to Him. I think those are the things I would say for
Mm-hmm.
the people. And the last thing I will say is to shout out Shona. Like, honestly, you're amazing. I'm
Oh
so glad that
wow.
I met you.
Oh.
Like, I'm so glad that I introduced myself to you. That's not the type of person that I used to be, but Sean and I met in a month where it was my month of saying yes. I was taking risks the
Oh
whole month, doing things
yes.
I would never walk up to a stranger and introduce myself. Why? But that month of August, I was like, I am just
Mm-hmm.
like the only Black girl in this room has walked in. I need to go up to her. So she was nervous. I was nervous. The whole thing was just so like wracking, but here we are now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think I'm proud of what you're doing. I'm so humble that you gave me an opportunity to work with you on your book. I'm excited
Of
to
course.
see all the amazing things that come out of you. And listeners, don't sleep on this girl, because she's
Hey,
a force.
hey,
And yeah, thank you so much, Shauna.
hey.
Thanks for having me.
Oh wow. Thank you, Rina. Like, I feel like you're like always my hype man, my hype girl. Like, I feel like you hype up every pod, like,
Hey.
which is so
Oh
good.
man.
Like, I love this black girl magic, this black joy, like just
Yes,
celebrating.
Black Girl Magic.
Yeah, just like
The black girls
celebrating each
there, like
other.
family.
We didn't even talk about
Mm.
black girl magic too much in China, but maybe we
Yeah.
definitely do need another episode where we talk about that.
Yeah, we should be on the show. Should bring
Yeah.
those guys on.
But
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining me today, Rina. Thank you for
Mhm.
just sharing your life with us, the good, the bad, well, I think mostly good. The
Girl.
uncertainty, like the unknown, but
Yeah.
still following his voice and teaching us and showing it to us through your life, like how God blesses those who follows his voice and following your passion and purpose, but also doing it in such an intentional way, and also like
Yeah.
just working hard, because a lot of us, we have the passion, we have the purpose, myself included, but the hard work part. But you are one of the most hardworking person that I've ever met.
Oh,
And like when passion meets hard work, when purpose meets hard work, then Rena is created. And yeah, like
um,
business is amazing. And for those who are listening, if it is that you have something in your mind or on your heart that you want to try, whether it's in the creative field or it's going back to school or applying for a job or texting a family member that you haven't heard from in a while, whatever it is, just do it. Like, take Rena's example, my example with this podcast, and follow your heart, trust God, trust yourself, and good things are bound to happen. So this is Shauna. I was joined by Rena today, and here I go rambling again.